To this special city council meeting on May 26, 2020. Please call the roll.
Daveline.
Here.
Soldner.
Here.
Bagwell.
Here.
Garza. Pyros de Carvalho.
Here. Next item, please.
Item 2A, public hearing to consider the 2020 CDBG Economic Development Grant application and approval of submittal of a grant application to the Kansas Department of Commerce.
Okay, can I have a motion to open the public hearing, please?
Motion to open public hearing?
Second.
Let me do it.
Okay, please call the roll.
Daveline.
Yes.
Soldner.
Yes.
Bagwell.
Yes.
Pyros de Carvalho.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Director of IT, Todd Davis. I wanted to go over how the meeting was going to work this morning. As you noticed, your microphones are not working in the room because we have an audience today, and we've given them the ability to raise their hand, and if they do, then they'll be able to talk during the public comment part of the meeting. This is a federal grant, and we are required to do a public hearing where people can attend. And since City Hall is not open, we made a way for them to be able to attend, and that was through a Zoom meeting. So for the people who are watching on YouTube or wherever, the way you raise your hand if you're on the web is by clicking the participant icon, and then there's a choice where you can raise your hand. If you're on the phone, you can press *9, and that will raise your hand on the screener's screen. Or if you're on an app like on your smartphone, Android or iOS, then you go down to the bottom of that app and there's a more icon, and under the more icon is also how you raise your hand. So that's just if you want to make a comment about this topic. This is not an open meeting in any other way, so it's got what you say needs to be about the public hearing right now. So it's a little different than a normal meeting, and I appreciate everybody's patience.
Thank you, Todd. Okay, Ryan, let's hear about this grant.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Mayor, members of the council. For the record, my name is Ryan Vielip, Director of Planning and Development with the City of Hutchinson. Before you this morning is a public hearing and application to submit what is called the CDBG CV Economic Development Grant to the Kansas Department of Commerce. So I'll kind of go through a little bit of the summary here of kind of how we got here and what this all means. So this is a proposed $300,000 grant from the Kansas Department of Commerce. Governor Kelly announced on May 11th as part of some federal funds that the state received from the CARES Act, which was kind of the Coronavirus Stimulus Act there, that the state was allocated $9 million to non-entitlement CDBG communities like Hutchinson. So that would mean communities that are not Johnson County, Wyandotte County, Wichita, any of the larger cities of the state. The point of these funds were to address the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on small businesses, specifically those who employ persons who meet the low to medium income guidelines. As these are CDBG funds, and that is one of the requirements under federal law for CDBG, that they do have to serve those who meet LMI guidelines. So this grant in specific is for small businesses. There are two kind of subcategories. You have businesses that are 1 to 5 employees, falls under the micro grant program, and 6 to 50 employees, which falls under the economic development grant. These are businesses that do have to employ at least 51% of their full-time equivalent jobs for low to medium income persons. These funds can be used for working capital such as wages, utilities, rent, and to purchase inventory needed to reopen. So these are really funds that are directed to kind of get businesses back on their feet, or that bridge until hopefully we could get back to a semblance of normalcy. So the program itself does allow for a maximum grant of $30,000 for those smaller businesses and $50,000 for the larger businesses, but as the overall grant is only limited to $300,000, we worked with the chamber and with a couple of members of the city council, as well as the community foundation, and we came up with a recommendation of maximum grants of $10,000 for the micro grantees and $20,000 for economic development grants. So this will help the program go a little bit further. So the city would be the grantee. A grant administrator would be contracted to assist in administering the grant. As this is a federal grant, there's still a lot of paperwork and things like that would have to be done. And it's even doubly important as this is a very short time frame. So what staff is recommending in terms of what the city's role would be is that these funds would be allocated on a first come, first served basis. via an application that the city will work with the grant administrator to draft. If the requests exceed the grant funds available at the application deadline, a ranking system would be used. And the criteria for that would be, the first one would be that federal assistance is not already received for COVID, so that would be the Paycheck Protection Plan or the economic disaster or injury loans, basically. Also that what is the percentage of full-time employees that are at 67% or less of LMI, as once again, one of the main priorities of CDBG is to serve that community, and also a general application quality. So these will be ranked by committee and then presented to the City Council for final approval. So the timeline and kind of a little bit of the need that we're looking at in the community. So these grant applications at the state level are funded on a first come, first served basis. So that is why we're meeting this morning a little bit out of your normal schedule, because it is vitally important that we get this application submitted this week. So we're working with SCAD, who is the one who really has been the expert on this and has worked all weekend really on this application ready. So if awarded, we anticipate a short 14 to 21 day city application window, because really we want to get these funds in the hands of these businesses. So the chamber did do a survey of their membership, and they came up with about 30 total potential businesses that could take advantage of this. So 9 of those are in the really small, the 1 to 5 employees, 21 would be in the 6 to 50 employees. And that equates to about 398 low and medium income jobs. So some real impact here in our community. It's a rare thing that we get a federal grant where we don't have to have any city match. And then the admin funds would be paid from the grant itself. So there is really nothing that comes out of the city's funds except for a small application writing fee. So before you guys get into the public hearing, I just wanted to note that the notice was published in the Hutchinson News on May 19th as required. And Todd has already kind of went over what's required for that. So
Okay,
I will step back and allow that to happen now.
great. Well, it appears that we do have people on Zoom who would like to comment. Or there's people in the public hearing.
Well, let them comment.
Okay. I'm going to wait a few minutes to make sure we give people the opportunity. Yeah.
We didn't have any public comment.
Okay. We have people watching the meeting but not really interested in
We
commenting.
have people both watching and attending via Zoom,
Okay.
but nobody, sorry. I broke my own rule. We have people watching on YouTube and Facebook, Channel 7, and we have a couple of people on the Zoom meeting as well, but they have not raised their hand, so they don't have a comment.
Okay.
That or they don't know how. And
Okay.
so if you're on a call, then press *9. If you're on a web meeting, then click participant and then raise hand. And we're going to wait like another 30 seconds or so and then go on with the meeting.
Okay, thank you. And I will remind anyone who's interested in speaking to give their name and address.
Mayor, I do have a couple of questions for clarification, if I may.
Sure.
First of all, I would say that I'm certainly a strong advocate and a supporter of us proceeding with this grant application. I think it's a very timely program, and we appreciate the Department of Commerce giving communities an opportunity to be a recipient. Ryan, just a couple, 3 basic kind of questions. This may sound like a redundant question here, but my first question is that the recipients of these grant applications, must they be established in the city of Hutchinson only?
Yes, that is correct. These grantees, and it's actually very specifically spelled out in the grant that anyone who does receive this would have to be located within the city of Hutchinson.
Very good, I appreciate that. You indicated it's on a first come, first served basis.
That is correct.
And I understand that. But are there any other primary criterias beyond the first come, first served basis that would determine the recipients, loss of sales, degree of business losses, and so on? Are there any other criteria?
Really, I mean, the grant, all it really says is that it has to meet the 51% LMI threshold. So the number of employees that the company employs that is at or below LMI level. Other than that, that would really kind of be up to the ranking committee, and that would kind of fall under that ubiquitous application quality ranking that, and one of the things we will be asking for is some evidence of either lost sales or payrolls or things like that, so we can determine what the actual need is. But really, the clear indication from the federal government was to get these funds out as quickly as possible into the hands of the businesses that need them. So we will follow that and not have too many restrictions. We also know that this is really important, and we don't want to be overly burdensome to our business community.
Have you had an opportunity to look at the actual application for a business for clarity and for?
There is not one. There is not one. So we're working on drafting one, looking at what other cities around the country have done with these similar grants. So this is a national program, so we have a little bit of help with that. So most of them, it's your basic information, and then, as I said, we would need some sort of proof of the employee makeup, payroll makeup, and then a narrative of why they are requesting the funds.
Share with us what you envision to in terms of how this committee may function and what their responsibilities may be in that process of selecting the applicants.
Our hope is that they only have to meet once. I think that once this goes out, these funds are going to get requested rather quickly. We anticipate probably having some representation from the city council, representation from the chamber, probably somebody from city staff, community foundation, and then maybe somebody from SCAD who can kind of be the technical assistants if there's a question of, does an applicant meet the requirements or do they not? They would be able to help us with that. So really just to review the applications, make sure everything's correct, and then package them up and then bring them to city council as quickly as possible to get the final approval.
And you would bring the list of those that the committee's recommended
Yep.
to the city council
Yep.
for?
That's the intent. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Thank you for that help.
You're welcome.
Clarification.
We did have somebody in the public that wanted to speak, so we're going to open that channel now.
Okay.
Please give your name and address.
No, we can't hear anything out here.
There's nothing.
We're all trying to figure it out as we go with this.
And program director at Startup Hutch. And I apologize, I think we've got a little bit of a delay between the Zoom and YouTube, so I think I'm a little slow into the public comment. And I'll be very brief. I just wanted to
Jackson.
offer my strong support for this. I think that this is something that, based on my conversations with small business owners and entrepreneurs, is something that we need, and that there will be considerable interest in this in the community. So that's really all I had to say. I just wanted to offer my support.
So I'll explain a little bit about what's going on. That was Jackson Swearer. I don't know his address, but he's unable to hear the meeting 30 seconds later. And so it's a complex configuration that we have going on back here, and it's untested. So there's really no way to check and make sure it works without it doing a live meeting.
Yeah,
So
no, not a problem.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Jackson, we appreciate your comments. We got the lion's share of them. We just didn't get your name at the beginning.
And do you know if there's anybody else in the
There isn't.
audience? Okay. All right. Other questions from the council or comments? Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close the public hearing? Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Daveline?
Yes.
Soldner?
Yes.
Bagwell?
Yes.
Pyrus de Carvalho?
Yes. Is there a motion on this item?
I would move to approve submittal of a grant application to the Kansas Department of Commerce Small Cities Community Development Block Grant Program.
Second.
Okay, further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Daveline?
Yes.
Soldner?
Yes.
Bagwell?
Yes.
Pyrus de Carvalho?
Yes. And we also have a motion that's necessary for the grant administrator proposal. I
And
think.
I will get into real quick
Yeah.
just what the process was. As I mentioned, this is a complex program that's heavily regulated by both state and federal laws. We do not have on city staff currently the certifications recommended to administer a CDBG grant. This is maybe a little bit of a plea to the state for them to maybe reopen those classes so that we can have some city staff that can actually do that. But at this point, they have not offered those classes in a couple of years. So this admin fee by the program itself is capped at $15,000. So it would be paid out of the grant, and the the contract for the grant administrator would not actually be executed until we received notification that we did receive the grant. The writing fee, though, would be paid out of city funds. Staff did prepare an RFP requesting proposals from 5 CDBG administrators around the state asking for grant writing and grant administrative services. This RFP closed on May 20th at 12 noon. We did receive 2 responses, one from SCED and the other from Ranson City Code Financial, which is a firm out of Wichita. SCED's proposal was $15,000 for the admin and then $1,750 to write the grant. Ranson was also $15,000 administration and $3,000 to write the grant. So staff reviewed these RFPs and ranked them on 9 criteria, as I'll see listed on the screen. I won't read through them in the interest of time. But staff does recommend SCED for the admin and grant writing services because of their past work with the city, as well as their ability to pull together their team in a very quick fashion for a very tight deadline here. So with that, staff does wholeheartedly recommend SCED for both the grant administration and the grant writing services. So what staff is asking is for the council to review the proposals and staff rankings and amend those if needed, and then we would need a motion for the grant writing and grant administration services.
So Ryan, does the 16,750 come out of that 300,000?
The only part that would come out of the 300,000 is the 15,000.
Okay.
The 1,750 would come out of city funds,
City
out of our
funds.
grant
Okay,
administration
so
funds.
We have about 285,000 for
Yep.
people to work with.
So yeah, if we were awarded this, we have about 285,000 to award to businesses in the city.
Yeah. And so you mentioned that, the application process is somewhat onerous. And Councilman Daveline kind of alluded to this. Our applications for each individual business, there will be some attempt to make that pretty streamlined and easy, right?
Absolutely, but there is still a requirement that they will have to maintain some records and be open that if the Department of Commerce decides that they want to do a visit and do some an audit, that paperwork we would need in hand, and that's what SCED, if they are awarded, would help us with that. They're very familiar with that. They did it with the Stevens building. That's probably the most recent example of where a private business received these funds, and there was quite a bit of paperwork that had to be maintained on that, and SCED helped us with that, and we finished that grant with only one minor finding. So that was an excellent showing of their administration ability.
So they help with the individual applicants as well.
Yeah, it will be staff that will mostly be doing it, but yes, they will be
Okay.
there to help with technical assistance and things like that.
And then the other question I had is, I know there was some talk in Topeka on Thursday about transferring responsibility of allocation of CARES funding from the governor to the LCC, and I know we don't yet know if the governor is going to veto that bill, but would that at all affect programs like this?
It should not, because this program's already been started and
Announced.
established, but it very well may affect future relief that comes from the state.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay, thanks for that clarification. Are there further questions?
Pretty straightforward.
Okay. Is there a motion on this?
Yeah, I will move to approve the proposal from South Central Kansas Economic Development District for the grant administration for the 2020 CDBG CV for economic development and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Daveline,
Yes.
Soldner,
Yes.
Bagwell,
Yes.
Pyrus de Carvalho.
Yes, next item, please.
I have adjournment.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, please call the roll.
Dave Line?
Yes?
Soldner?
Yes.
Bagwell?
Yes.
Tyros de Carvalho?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Todd,
Very good, very good.
for your commitment.